Every household should have a minimum of 3 days worth of food, but if you really want to feel prepared, you need to have 3 months to a year's supply. The question I'm always asking myself is, can I get us through until the next gardening season and when production really starts to kick off? And do I have enough supplies to get us through if I can't grow a certain thing or if something just happens to the entire garden? Now, I know this can seem daunting, especially if you're just starting out, but I promise you that building your prepper pantry gets easier and easier as you build each layer. So to help make building your prepared pantry just a little bit easier, I've created a list of my top 10 tips. So let's get into it. Tip number 1, creating a budget. One of the biggest excuses that I hear on why people aren't more prepared is because of the cost. But let me tell you that it costs a whole lot more in the long run to not be prepared than it does to be prepared. Depending on your situation, you may have to sit down and really look at your budget. Look at every little area and aspects and see where you can cut cost, even if it's just pennies. For some people, that's morning coffee on the way to work, the vending machine in the break room, streaming services. For some people, that may be going as deep as not using your clothes dryer and hanging everything up to dry, turning your AC or your heat up and down, depending on the weather, calling around to your car insurance, your phone bill, and seeing if there's anything that you can do to get a lower bill. There are some pretty extreme ways out there to cut your budget. But like with any large goal, I truly believe that if it's something that you want, you're going to do everything you can, work as hard as you can to make it happen. So for us, our budget every week is about $140. Sometimes I go under, sometimes I go over, but usually I try to stick right at that $140 line. So say I see that cheese is on sale at freeze-dried wholesalers and I want to buy 3 pounds of it. I know that that's going to come out of that $140 budget. Or if I'm at the grocery store and I see chicken marked down and I want to buy $50 worth of it, I know that I can, and I know that we have food at home. And so I don't really have to worry about buying regular groceries, and I can take that grocery budget and buy more things that'll last us for the long term. Which, if you haven't noticed, there hasn't been a grocery shop video in quite a while on our channel, and that is because that is the last time I've been to the grocery store. I have been taking advantage of some Black Friday deals on freeze-dried foods and a few other little things I've seen here and there online. And we're also gearing up for our quarterly Costco trip. So that's where I've been spending my budget. On a side note, if you are paying for a bunch of streaming services and then also Apple Music and or Spotify, go ahead and cut those out and just get YouTube Premium. I resisted for so long on getting YouTube Premium, but I finally did it 6 months ago. And I will tell you that it's worth it, totally worth it. So it's like 20 bucks a month-ish, which comes out to be cheaper than Netflix plus Spotify. So now I just use YouTube Music for my music, and then we just watch YouTube anyways. So it ends up being a whole lot cheaper. So when you're creating your budget, think of ways like that. Like you might not have to get rid of all your streaming services, but just see if there's other streaming services where you can combine it and save, that $20, that $30 a month. Tip 2 is to relearn how you shop. Sit down and make a list of every grocery store in your area, even ones you don't normally shop at. Learn when they reset their ad, when they mark down their meats, if they mark down their produce, where their clearance shelf is. I've seen some of the clearance shelves located near like the produce department, or they'll be by the dairy. Walmart's is usually an end cap, and it's usually beside the toilet paper, but that might be all regional dependent. You want to be careful when you're shopping these clearance stuff because sometimes it's stuff that's close to date, or it's a dented can or an open box. So just kind of be wary when you're shopping the clearance shelf, but sometimes you can find some really good stuff there. So once you have your list of stores in your area, you're going to want to start checking their ad every week and determining which store is the best for you to shop at that week. So it may be that you see there's a really good sale on ham at Aldi's, but there's a really good sale on green beans at Walmart. So you're going to want to go to both stores that week, and that's okay. You can do multiple stores in one day, and it might take you twice as long to grocery shop, but when you're building your prepared pantry, that's just something that you're going to have to do, sacrifice that you're going to have to make in order to really build it up. Make sure you're joining their email list, their digital coupon programs, whatever little setup they have to help you save money, you're going to want to join them. Another thing I would recommend is to make your own email address that's just for that because they can get a little bit spammy. Most grocery stores operate on a 6-week sales schedule. So what that means is if you see something on sale this week, you can almost clock it that 6 weeks from now, it's gonna go back on sale. So if you see dehydrated potatoes on sale for $1 and that's your buy price, you're gonna wanna buy up as many as you'll use and get you through that 6-week sales cycle. And what I mean when I say buy price is the price that you are willing to pay. If you're out of coffee and you have to buy it that week, you're going to spend more money than if you have 5 containers of it at home already and you can just wait until you see that next sale. Prices on coffee are ridiculous right now, but my buy price on a canister like this is around $8 to $10. If I see one of these go on sale for $6, that's when I know I need to stock up, stock up, stock up. We'll talk about these potatoes again. So my buy price on these is about $1. They're running about $2 now. And then the sales have only been going down to $1.25. So I haven't bought any lately. But let's just say I go into the grocery store and I see these potatoes are on sale for 60 cents. Since that's below my buy price and the sale is not typical, I'm going to stock up on as many as I can afford or as many as I think we'll use before we get close to any sort of expiration date. Creating what you think is a buy price isn't something I can just give you a list for. It's definitely going to be area dependent and also dependent on what you've already got stocked at home. But you'll learn these and you'll create your own the more you pay attention to prices, sales, or whatever else. You'll just start picking it up and learning it, and it will become something that's just second nature in your head. And of course, it's going to change over time, hopefully becoming lower and lower as you build a more prepared pantry. I want to take a few seconds to talk about something that gets ignored in most preparedness plans, even with seasoned preppers. When you look back at any major collapse, whether that be hurricanes, blackouts, pandemics, cyber attacks, or political instability, there's always one common thing that happens. As infrastructures begin to fail, the medical system follows closely behind it. Not in weeks, not in days, sometimes hours. Hospitals and pharmacies usually only carry 3 days of critical supplies, and one little bump in that supply chain could cause chaos. We lived through this in 2020, we saw it during Katrina, and if you study global conflicts today, you'll see that it's happening all the time. And this is why our family added a Jace case from Jace Medical to our long-term supplies. This isn't some basic first aid kit, it's a physician-prescribed emergency antibiotic supply, built specifically for infections that become high risk when the system around you is failing. Respiratory infections, skin and wound infections, UTIs, gastrointestinal infections, the exact things that historically turn deadly when medical care becomes limited. It comes with a detailed medical guide explaining what each medication treats and when it should be used safely. In a true grid down scenario, that kind of clarity is priceless. When the system breaks, and at some point it will, the families who have prepared are the ones who don't panic and stand a better chance. If you want to add this layer of resilience to your preparedness plan, I'm linking it in the description below. And Jace was kind enough to give our community a coupon code to save you a little bit off the top. That's also going to be down in the description. Tip 3. Learn seasonal sales. Shopping seasonal sales is one of the easiest ways to build your pantry for cheap. Right now we're in peak holiday season, November and December, so we're going to see things like hams, turkeys, broths, any sort of baking supplies. Those are all on sale right now. In January, February, we're going to find a lot of protein bars, granola, hot cocoa, canned soups, anything dealing with weight loss or keeping warm in the winter. Super Bowl, you'll find a lot of things on sale that make appetizers. And holidays like 4th of July and Memorial Day, you'll find a lot of things like ground beef, ribs, steaks. You'll also find utensils, paper plates, anything like that on sale. Think anything grilling out. The easiest way I can remember all these types of seasonal sales is to think about if you were to have a party, what would you serve for people to eat and drink? Those are the things that are going to go on sale. And these sales are highly predictable. If you can plan your pantry around seasonal sales instead of just impulse buying, you're going to save a ton of money and you're going to build food security. Tip number 4, buying in bulk. We budget a Costco trip about 3 to 4 times a year, and the next one is coming up. But with Costco being so far away from us, we're not really able to shop the sales like someone who lived close to Costco would be able to do. So for us, a lot of things at Costco just aren't worth it. I know that I can find these cans of green beans on sale for 50 to 75 cents, but when you look at Costco, they usually are like 80 to $1 in each of those 12 packs. So it just doesn't make sense for us to buy a ton of canned goods at Costco. But some of the things that I do like to buy in bulk are seasonings, Ziploc bags, laundry detergent, food saver bags, medical supplies are a good one at Costco. And a lot of times I do find other supplies that are outside the kitchen. Like last time I went, I found pepper spray. So don't think that buying in bulk is automatically going to save you money, because once you start really diving deep into these sales, I truly believe that sales at your typical grocery store can be a lot cheaper than what you'll find at Costco. But there are still some things at Costco that I would buy. That goes back to where you need to research your weekly ads and kind of see where Costco fits in with what's in your area. Tip number 5, forego the junk food. A lot of people don't want to hear this, but dump the junk food. Those chips, the sodas, the energy drinks, that stuff adds up quickly. Just think about this. A bag of chips is $5 now. A 12-pack of sodas is sometimes close to $10 now. So that's $15 that you spent on something that's probably going to disappear out of your pantry in 2 to 3 days. Instead, take that $15 you would have spent on junk food and buy something that's a little bit more sustainable. This bag of pinto beans is less than $4, and this will feed you 100 times over than chips and soda. This canned meat was $10. Would you rather have a pound and 12 ounces of meat on your shelf or a 12-pack of Pepsi? And once your pantry is in a good place, of course, treat yourself. But until you start having that 3-month supply, that 1-year supply, you really need to focus on just building your pantry. Tip number 6, rethink the way you store groceries. When you get home, I know it's so easy just to throw that pack of meat in the freezer, throw the food on the shelf, and trust me, I am 100% guilty of that. But organizing and properly storing your food can save you hundreds, if not thousands of dollars per year. We talked about it in a previous video, but my food saver honestly has saved us thousands of dollars over the past 2 decades. Not only do I use it to vacuum seal portions of meat to go in the freezer, but I've also been known to split up chips, crackers, cookies, or anything that's going to go stale into individual size packages. This is pretty great if you buy those giant bags of white cheddar popcorn from Costco. For things like rice, beans, flour, sugar, I usually lean towards storing in Mylar bags. I usually write in Sharpie on them with what it is and the date. And I'll also store stuff in food grade buckets. These little ones are really great. I find them at my local Amish store when they, oh, dust on this thing. These things are great. I get them at my local Amish store, so they order stuff in bulk, and this used to be a pound of bay leaves, and they'll sell these in the back corner for like $0.25. So I'll pick these up anytime I go into the Amish store. Like right now, I've got bread flour in it. Another great way to store food is in mason jars. I like this method because I can see what's inside, know exactly how much is left, and if I need to restock. Think about it like this. If you're more organized, you'll know exactly what ingredients you have on hand to cook that night. You'll know exactly what you have at home if you see a big sale, and foods don't really have a chance to go bad, which brings us to our next tip. Tip 7, minimize food waste by turning leftovers into a week's worth of meals. Stretching meals is another way to stretch your budget. For instance, a few weeks ago, I bought that big Boston butt as part of our meat markdown clearance haul, and it was way too big for us to eat in just a couple of meals. So what I did was I just put that Boston butt in a crock pot with some dry rub seasonings. The first night we ate it as just like a meat and 3, and then Chris took some to work with him the next day for lunch. Then the next day we just made barbecue tacos, and I just put barbecue sauce and coleslaw on top. And again, Chris took that to work with him the next day for lunch. And even then, there was still so much left that I just didn't want to eat the same protein over and over. So I just froze what we had left over. And then just a few nights ago, I had such a busy day and I knew I wasn't going to feel like cooking. So I pulled that out and we ended up just eating the leftovers as barbecue sandwiches. So that was one $10 Boston butt turned into 6 meals, 3 dinners, 3 lunches. Another thing that I like to do is something I like to call magic soup. And it's where I either take like a half-gallon mason jar or I'll do a gallon Ziploc bag. And let's say that I'm cooking dinner and there's only like one little bitty scoop of green beans left. Instead of just throwing it out to the chickens, I'll throw it in a mason jar or the Ziploc and throw it in the freezer. Say a couple of nights go by and we're cooking dinner and I make tacos with hamburger meat, and there's just like one little scoop of hamburger meat left. Well, instead of just tossing it to the dogs or the chickens, I put that in that mason jar that had the green beans in it. Same thing I'll do with like corn, cabbage is another good one. I'll just keep adding up until that half gallon mason jar is full or until that Ziploc bag is full. Once it does get full, I let it thaw out enough to where I can get it out of the jar and I'll throw it in the crock pot, usually using beef broth. I throw it into the crock pot and then just let it cook all day. And I will tell you that I don't even know how it happens, but all those flavors that you used when you cooked all week or a month or however long it takes you, they all just kind of smoosh together and they make a delicious soup. I will recommend that if you want to try this at home, don't put anything in your jar that gets mushier the more you cook it. So, like potatoes, pasta, uh, rice, anything like that. So, if I want to add some sort of noodles to it while I'm cooking, I'll just throw it in the crock pot toward the very end. Tip number 8, think twice before eating out. I'm the first one to admit that we spend way too much money eating at restaurants. I have a weakness for oysters. I don't know if you've ever seen that meme that's like, if I became a millionaire, there would be signs. Mine would be me picking out on seafood, oysters, and crab legs 3 days a week. But when you really need to build your prepper pantry, or even if you've got like another preparedness goal in mind, eating out can really, really dig into those funds. One of the things that I like to do is, let's say that I want to go out to eat and I know it's going to cost $50, but I know that I would rather have $50 worth of food on my shelf. I'll come home and just make something simple to eat, even if it's just ramen and a sandwich. And I'll take that $50 that I was already going to spend in my brain. I'll take that $50 and buy whatever I thought I needed instead. And a lot of times that turns out to be a way better decision, a way better purchase than just wasting it going out to eat. If you have to go out to eat, say for like work or a social function, there are little ways to be frugal when doing that too. One of my favorite ones is if I know I'm going to go to a specific restaurant a couple of days before ahead of time, I'll go online and sign up for their like email programs. And usually they send you some sort of coupon. So whether that be for like a free appetizer or a free drink, just make sure that you do it a couple of days, if not like a week before, because sometimes it takes a little while before that coupon gets to your email address. Also, a lot of these places will send you free stuff for your birthdays. So I know that like Starbucks will give you a free drink, Moe's will give you a free burrito, Firehouse is a free sub. So use that email address we talked about earlier and sign up for all those things. Take advantage of this free stuff from corporations. Tip number 9, learn new skills. I am always going to preach to you to learn new skills because it trickles down to every aspect of preparedness and survival. Picking up scratch cooking skills, learning what seasonings and herbs do to flavors, your health, what things like cornstarch does or cream of tartar does. All these little bitty things are big game changers when it comes to your prepared pantry and in your kitchen. And it may seem silly, but being able to look at a pile of ingredients and say, okay, this is a soup or this can be a casserole, it is becoming such a lost skill. On top of scratch cooking, pressure canning, water bath canning, fermenting, smoking, dehydrating, all of these things can help you preserve your food, especially if you get into a long-term survival situation. I always think back to Christopher McCandless, and if you've never heard of him before, there's a book and a movie called Into the Wild. Highly recommend reading and watching both. But in short, he thought that he was just going to go on out to the Alaskan wilderness and survive, and he had very little skill. Somehow he was able to take down a moose with a rifle, but because he didn't know how to properly preserve it, most of that meat was lost to like rot and maggots. And of course, he didn't have enough provisions to get him through the Alaskan wilderness, and unfortunately, he did not make it out. With all that said, tip number 10, don't let this overwhelm you. I know when you see the news or when you see people post online these crazy basements full of food, it can be a little bit overwhelming, and for some people, it can even create fear. But remember, even if you only have a couple of packs of ramen noodles, a big old bag of rice and beans, and a couple of gallons of water, you're way more prepared than 90% of the population. When you see basements full of food, those people have been working to build their stockpile for years. It doesn't happen overnight. It takes planning, budgeting, and of course, it takes time. Start small, you can do it, and I hope that these 10 tips help you build your more prepared pantry. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the like button. I love y'all, and we'll see you in the next one.